Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Book Cougars, two middle-aged women on the hunt for a good read. I'm Emily.
And I'm Chris.
We're so excited to talk today with Luanne Rice, author of 36 novels that have been translated into 27 languages. Several of Luanne's books have also been adapted for TV by TNT, CBS, Hallmark, and Lifetime. She's also written for the stage and has walked the boards herself as a performer off Broadway and in LA. Three of Luanne's novels are geared toward young adults, and they all often focus on love, family, nature, and the sea. Luanne lives on the Connecticut Shoreline and is a creative affiliate of the Safina Center. Before we jump in, Emily and I want to acknowledge our friend and listener Deb in Chicago, who told us about Luanne's books a couple years ago, and she knew we'd love them in part for our mutual love of nature and the sea. We finally heeded Deb's advice, and both of us have read and loved Luanne's new novel, The Shadow Box. Wow. I mean, we both really loved it, proving once again that the best book recommendations come via word of mouth from other readers. Welcome, Luanne. It's so great to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Chris and Emily. I'm really excited to be with the Book Cougars. I'm such a fan of yours. And it's funny, I have a good friend, Deb, who's a book lover in Chicago, and I wonder if it's the same Deb. Is it?
Yes.
It is.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to thank her and give her a shout out. She's wonderful. I love Deb.
Yeah, we've met Deb. I think the first time I met Deb was in Vermont, actually, at a Booktopia event up at the Northshire bookstore. Is that where you met her, Chris?
No,
Yes.
I met her. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you
Oh,
had
no, sorry.
She must have been with Becky then.
Yes. Yeah. Becky from New York.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
that's in Florida now. But so we met through Bruce Springsteen. It's kind of a long story, but we were fans of his and connected. And and I've met both of them several times. And Deb in particular, I was at a book fair out in Chicago, and she came and we had a really nice visit. And and then I did a reading at Anderson's, and she came to that too. So I'm so happy to know that.
Mutual
so
book
great.
friends.
Yeah,
They're the best.
Such a small world. And I'm originally from Chicago, but I didn't meet Deb until I was living in Connecticut, and we met in Vermont. So it's just so amazing how people get connected.
Yeah. Well, Luanne, one of the things we love about your books is the love that you share for the Connecticut shoreline. The shoreline and sailing and nature and the beach it's the atmosphere of the book and almost becomes a character itself. Can you tell us about your own love of the Connecticut shoreline?
Yes, thank you for noticing that. I love it so much. It's in my blood like salt water. I mean, it's just incredible. And wherever I live, I write about this little section of the shoreline, which is really old lime, but I call it Black Hall in my novels. And the beach area that I actually live at, I call Hubbard's Point. And so I think when I was, living in various places, and I would call forth the spirit of this place, I felt like it helped me from being homesick, and so it was easy to write about because I feel like I've internalized it so much. I've been here really off and on for my entire life from birth. So
yeah. And are you a sailor? There's so much sailing language in this book.
I do sail. Both my sisters are really big time sailors, and my youngest sister in particular, Maureen, she raced for years in Noank in the Wednesday night races, and she and her husband, were very competitive sailors, and so I do go out with them a lot. And when I was young, I grew up sailing little dinghies really off the beach or in kind of the local waters. But I love it a lot, and I did an oceanographic research cruise when I dropped out of college to. I did drop out of college, but this was really a semester that was at Woods Hole. And then we sailed through the Caribbean on a 100-foot staysail schooner called Westward. And the name of the program was SEA, Sea Education Association. And, so being at sea on this really big schooner and learning not only, oceanographic and marine biology subjects, but also nautical science. So taking the wheel and navigating, even celestial navigation, which I just loved. It's so romantic. So yeah, I am on the water whenever I can be.
Yeah, beautiful. And one of the things too I liked the way you use the water in the book. It's not just, I've read other books that are placed on a shoreline that are, you can tell they're just kind of placed there. They're not really of that place. But like there are scenes in your book where two of the characters are standing on the docks and the docks are creaking because the water's gently, ebbing and flowing, rising and falling, I should say, because there's a big storm out at sea. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that when you're local to the shoreline or you've lived on the shoreline for a while, you feel, and it's just part of your existence. So to see those types of details in your book, it was really exciting.
Thank you. It's interesting. I think being by the sea, sound plays such a big role in it, just hearing the waves or and what you're talking about. I'm set up above the beach, but also above a boat basin, and the boats are on. They're attached in their slips by pulleys, so they can rise and fall. And when there is a storm at sea, like it can be flat calm, it can appear to be flat calm, but the way the storm is coming is that you start to hear the creaking of those pulleys. And it's like a harbinger, and the next thing the waves are rolling in. And it's true, like way out at sea, there are big rollers, but here it might be very calm, but and then the next day we'll have, we could practically surf.
Right.
It's that old adage, the calm before the storm.
It is completely. And today there are foghorns and it's not foggy here. In fact, I can look out and see Orient Point. I can see right across the sound, but there are foghorns. So that's a very haunting and beautiful sound too. So it must be foggy somewhere, probably a little more to the east of where I am.
Nice.
So let's talk a little bit more directly about the shadow box. The book is beautiful, literally. The physical book is beautiful. I'm holding it up as if Luanne hasn't seen it already. And it has a beautiful cover, but then we've done a video already of the actual inside hardcover of this book, which is a shadow box. Can you describe to the listeners what a shadow box is?
Sure. Well, in this case, there are different ways to create a shadow box, but in this case, it's main character Claire Chase is a beachcomber, and she loves to pick up little objects from the beach and from her walks through the woods. So she collects things that are meaningful to her that might not be to somebody else, but like crab claws or jingle shells, maybe like a piece of driftwood with some barnacles on it, a rusty old hinge, things like that. And if I were to show you my bookshelves right around the corner here, you'd see that on almost every one, there's like collections of things that I have picked up on my walks. And so in the novel, Claire builds like boxes that are maybe a couple of inches deep, maybe about the size of, I don't know, like maybe the size of a small window, really. And she will fill them with what she collects. And they tell a story. They add up to something that only she really knows, but some people who know her well can possibly discern and kind of figure out the mystery. But I'm so glad you like the cover. And I would like to just give a shout out to the designer. Her name is Shasti O'Leary Sudan. And she designed some of my other previous book covers at when I was at a different publisher, and so this has been a great reunion. And she also did Last Day, my last novel. But I sometimes the unsung heroes of the publishing business, but she's a true artist, and I feel very lucky. So thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the themes of this book, The Shadow Box, is domestic violence. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about that with you, just the insidious nature, especially of emotional abuse, where there are no scars, physical scars or bruises to hide. And we know that there was a local article in the local paper recently that we both read, an interview with you about domestic violence. And so we were just wondering if you would be willing to talk a little bit about that uh, interest and how you represent that in fiction.
Well, yeah, I feel that exactly what you said, that it's really important to bring awareness to the fact that emotional and verbal abuse can be as or more damaging than physical abuse, partly because it goes in so deep and affects people at such a level that it can change your life in a very slow way, compared to, obviously, if somebody beats you or attacks you in a physical way, it's dreadful, and but you know it's dreadful. If that happens, the police are going to come, or you're going to go to the hospital. But with emotional abuse, it's really insidious. And part of the dynamic is that the abuser will cut you off from support system, from family, sisters, friends, and so you're kind of taking it and trying to figure out, what can I do differently that will make this stop, because you're being told it's your fault. And it did happen to me. I did go through it, and I didn't even see it coming. The person was very charming, very well liked by everybody. And I guess I feel like writing about it, it helps me understand it more, because my characters understand it. And I hope that if a reader is going through anything like this, that it validates what she's going through.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for talking about your experience and for writing this book as a way to hopefully help people who are in situations. And, domestic violence has a lot of different, it's not just men battering women or abusing women. Women can be the abuser. There's also, parents and children, siblings. I think most states have a definition of domestic abuse and violence of people who are cohabitating, regardless of.
Right. And there's elder abuse. I mean, where children can abuse their elderly parents.
Yeah.
I know, and I did use the pronoun, she or her, partly because that's my experience. And I think, probably percentage-wise, it's more often that dynamic, but you're absolutely right. It can be, anybody can be attacked in that way.
Yeah, but I do think overwhelmingly it is generally the man who is the perpetrator. I think we've seen that highlighted in our society the last few years for sure. We just also wanted to give out the national hotline. So if anybody's listening, the national hotline number is 1-800-799-7233. And that 7233 spells safe. So just remember 800-799-SAFE. They also have a website, thehotline.org, where you can chat with people, text chat. And they also, though, give a warning that if you are in a situation where your abuser is tracking your internet usage, they have a safe button to click out of that so it won't be tracked, which I thought was pretty great warning for people. But thank you, Luanne, for bringing this, the emotional abuse to light, because I do think so many people think, oh, I'm crazy. I know, saying the word crazy is not exactly the best term, but I do think that's what a lot of people feel in that situation, because it's like, he loves me. I know he loves me.
Exactly.
And
I agree with you about that. And, I don't identify as a victim. I don't feel like one. I certainly feel as if I am way past the worst of it, but naming it is important, acknowledging it. I mean, everyone who knows me closely knows that I went through it. I'm open about it because I feel like it destigmatizes the situation, because you do feel like it's your fault. And people who don't understand are like, why didn't she leave? But the question should be, why does he do it? You know,
Right.
Right.
not on, or, it's not on the person who it's being done to.
Yeah.
Right. And it's one of the things I think you do so well in the book is paint the picture. So Claire is the main character, and she's the one that's suffering at the hands of her husband, Griffin. And he's a very charismatic character. And he also is surrounded by people who are interested in protecting him and kind of have a stake in his future because he's destined to be the next governor of the state of Connecticut, which, as a Connecticut resident, as I was reading this, was totally freaking me out, I have to say. But, I think the other thing you really do well in the book is